Lamzu are back, and today we are checking out two of their most recent releases, the INCA and PARO AURORA. The Aurora part is very important, I'll explain later. These two mice have had some much requested design changes from their previous models, and both are using some rather interesting shapes that might make these a great choice for you, or a terrible one. We'll take a look at both of these in detail, and I'll share some critique that I have with Lamzu as well, as honestly, these mice are pointlessly confusing. First, let's begin with what these mice share. Both of these are using Pixar 3950 sensors with support of up to 8000 Hz polling rate. Okay, I'll give you a slight nugget of confusion now. The INCA has an 8000 Hz polling rate dongle included, the PARO AURORA doesn't. You have to buy the dongle separately. Why? They both feature on-run optical switches and optical scroll wheels, and both of these mice are using closed bottom designs, which means that you won't have to buy a $6 sticker if you have concerns about dust getting inside your mouse. And lastly, they both pretty much have the exact same chalk matte coating, and that pretty much ends the similarities between the two. Let's focus on the shape of the INCA for now. At first glance, it looks like your standard issue gaming mouse that we've seen multiple repeats of over the past few years, but this one is actually is inspired by a more niche mouse, the ZA series from ZOWIE. Just like the ZA-13, the INCA features a rather uncommon hump placement. Unlike some other mice that have their humps focused mainly at the back of the mouse, this shape brings it forward by quite a bit. Now, this initial area of the mouse is actually rather comfortable and creates a feeling of having the mouse locked in place to your hand, giving you a sense of control over the mouse, but it does impact the rest of the mouse. As the hump sits further forward, it will create more of a natural arc of your hand, making this design more focused towards a claw grip. And I think this is where this mouse might struggle to entice people. It's rather small in both length and width, and this results with the right side being rather restrictive in terms of room. And I found myself often wanting a bit of added thickness. Because the sides are tucked in a bit, I found my pinky straining to get any support. Overall, the shape of this isn't suitable for my hand size, but if you're someone with smaller hands, it might be great for your claw grip, especially if you're wanting something to sit tighter against your hand. I'll talk more about the mouse in game and a few extra details later on. For now though, let's take a look at the PARO AURORA. This one again is inspired by another ZOWIE mouse, the EC3. There's a few more differences here, so it's fair to say it is more of an inspiration. The PARO has its hump moved a bit more further forward. Unfortunately, I don't have my EC3 around anymore to do a direct comparison between them. But this mouse does have the same issue that I had with the EC3, which was the bottom left side of the mouse digging into my hand. This can be avoided if you were to angle the mouse to the right and have this groove match the contours of your thumb. One thing I did notice with this mouse is that it's actually more comfortable for other grip types, and even more of a loose palm grip, where the top of your palm and underside of the knuckles sits on top of the mouse, with the base of your palm sitting further back. This also provided the benefit of my grip being a lot more relaxed. I do think that this might be a better mouse shape-wise than the INCA overall, because it provides a lot more room as well for finger placement. Obviously, these are two distinctly different shapes, so a direct comparison isn't exactly fair, but I enjoyed using the PARO AURORA a lot more than the INCA. When I've been playing with these mice, the weight is certainly a highlight and a contributing factor to the lack of fatigue when using these for longer sessions. The weight of my INCA is around 42.3 grams and the PARO AURORA is 51 grams. One thing to note is that I believe Lamzu are doing the whole advertisement of the headlining weight without the mouse feet thing. Speaking of the mouse feet, they are fantastic. They feel very smooth on every mousepad I've tried, so unless you're specifically looking for dot skates, these will be fine for most people. Lastly, there's web-based software and a standalone application, which is just an offline version of their web software, which I think is a decent implementation because often the web software is decent, then the standalone application is garbage. Honestly, they've done a good job of keeping everything simple. It's all on one page with minimal bloat, which is good to see, but there's a few weird things. There's firmware updates for these mice available, but clicking on firmware just brings up Maya X firmware. You'd have to go to the downloads page and check for firmware updates through there. Overall, it's a bit annoying at points and in Lamzu fashion, needlessly confusing. Which kind of leads me to the pricing and I guess the presentation of these products. The Lamzu INCA costs around $119.99. For that, you get an 8000Hz dongle included. The PARO AURORA costs $99.99. It is 8000Hz compatible, but the dongle is sold separately. I'm not sure why there's a difference between the packaging of these products. There really should be a cheaper version of the INCA without the 8000Hz dongle. And I think it also creates a bit of confusion, especially with this Aurora name. If you go on the INCA page, it says INCA 8K polling Aurora technology. And then you have the PARO Aurora that doesn't have 8K polling included. It's all rather messy, and if you look at Lamzu's other products, you can see a consistency with their confusing naming schemes and branding of certain products. And take it from me, I get a lot of questions asking me what the difference is between the different Mayas and Atlantis mice that they sell. And slapping an additional naming scheme that they don't seem to be following much themselves isn't going to help. Sorry, I had to get that out of me. Lamzu are an interesting brand where they make pretty great products in my experience, but still haven't convinced the majority that they're a company worth checking out for regular people, and I guess the lack of consistent product presentation doesn't really help them. Anyway, these mice, just like other Lamzu mice I've tried, are great. I would recommend that before you buy the INCA though, do some research on how you hold your current mouse and whether or not that would transfer well to this, because the hump placement can be rather jarring, and don't forget to give yourself a bit of time to get used to it. For the PARO, I think it's a good shape for those that have a more relaxed grip type overall and are wanting a smaller ergonomic mouse. If these shapes interest you and you're thinking of getting one, I'd say go for it. They're both high quality products in their own right. I enjoyed using both of them in a variety of games as I try to capture some dopamine to distract me from the horrors of reality. So I'd highly recommend these. I do also have a video on screen now if you're looking for a mouse that might be suitable for those with big manly hands.